Okay, hi everyone. This is our AP Macro Final podcast. Today we will go over the trends in immigration, how they affect the economy in the United States. I'm Colin,
I'm Chloe.
I'm Julia.
and today we will be defining what income inequality is. And income inequality is basically income that is evenly distributed within a population. So basically, like the top 1% holds a lot of the wealth and income, and a lot of the bottom, bottom 15-20% holds a lot less than the top 1%. So today we'll be talking about like the factors that affect income inequality. And income inequality is pretty bad because it puts the power in the hands of the rich, which results in little to no social or economic mobility for large portions of the population. Some of the factors of income inequality are change in technology, education getting worse over the years, a decrease in organized labor, and different immigration rates. But just in this episode, we will be going over how immigration impacts income inequality.
So here's the situation, kind of like Colin talked about. The top 1% or the top 5% holds the vast majority of the money. This means that the lower class and middle class don't have as much economic freedom, and they're slowly getting merged together and are way worse off. So we need to find the cause of this and figure out how to stop it. So this is a problem because since only the upper class is growing, leaving the middle and lower class behind, this causes the economy to not be able to thrive, because we need a strong middle class to be able to thrive.
Recently, in the past 40 years, the gap just keeps growing. It really skyrocketed after 79. And so we just see the lower class and middle class really blending together, and then the top 5% really just keeps growing. And this also kind of affects the GDP, it kind of goes hand with that. GDP doesn't really show what's going on. GDP is not an accurate measurement. And does anyone want to define GDP?
GDP is gross domestic product, so it shows generally how well off a country is doing economically. But this view can be distorted by having the upper class have all the income. So it looks like the country is doing great, but the farther the upper and lower class get apart and the more inequality we have, the worse off the country actually is, because the GDP isn't representing the vast majority of the population. So GDP really doesn't show happiness, and it's kind of a distorted view of how the whole country is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the greater the income inequality is, the worse GDP represents the country as a whole.
Yeah.
And today we will be dialing in on immigration's effect on the growth of income inequality in the United States.
Immigration, the effects, it's really a political thing, honestly. If you look at it, but I do know, immigration from Asia has increased a lot throughout, from 1970 to 2006, and has, increased by 81%, which, that was during the time where, the income inequality really skyrocketed.
Yeah, so that's kind of a point of view of immigration is really influencing the increase in income inequality, because you'll have some immigrants that have very little education, or in this case from Asia, they have a higher level of education than a lot of people in the U.S. So they immediately get boosted to the top percentages of the income, whereas some other people are immediately at the bottom. So this like really creates a huge gap. So that kind of shows how immigration impacts inequality and makes it grow. However, there's also another side, because like Julia said, it's like a rather political thing and it's a bit controversial. So some others say that immigration can alleviate income inequality because of the skill level of immigrants or like the labor market dynamics. And it's also argued that it pretty much has no effect because it doesn't increase the gap between college level education, which can get you a bit higher job, and the high school level education. So since it doesn't impact or expand the gap here, it can be argued that immigration does not impact income inequality as much as some people think.
Well, immigrants tend they have either really high or really low like wages compared. Well, especially for like they don't go through the system. They're kind of coming here like when they're not like a legal citizen. People tend to hire them more just because they don't have taxes or anything to pay. And so like compared to like U.S. citizens, like natural. But like it just changes like the wage inequality.
Yeah, and like going off of that, like there's so many different reasons that people immigrate to the US. So like whether that reason is so they can get a really high paying job or so they can escape like a bad situation and just settle for anything, you can't put everyone into one group. And I'd say that's why like you can't really pinpoint this as like the one thing that's causing it.
Yeah.
And in conclusion, we have decided that immigration does not impact income inequality. This is because of the vast difference in wages compared to natives, the fact that immigrants pay taxes, immigrants have a different skill set compared to natives, such as like filling labor gaps, and also the fact that immigration affects income inequality relatively small compared to other factors such as technological change, globalization, and domestic policies.
Yeah.
We hope that you enjoyed our
Podcast.
podcast, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you.